Hey, Alex Perez here, your host from Off-Road with Alex Perez, and today we have a brand new episode. I am very excited to show you our next guest and introduce you to Mrs. Pamela Juarez, very young entrepreneur, very successful, and I can't wait for me to share, or for her to share her story, her road to success, and our YouTube channel. So with that being said, let's jump onto the Jeep and let's get this interview started. Let's go. Hi everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you saw in the intro today, I have a very special guest, a young entrepreneur woman that has been through some good and some bad, and today she's gonna share with us not only her road to success, she's also gonna teach us or give us a lesson in regards to business and give us some insights, some pointers, things of what to do and what not to do. So with that being said, I am gonna introduce you to Mrs. Pam. How are you, señorita?
Hello. Thank you so much, Alex, for having me here. This is definitely a very interesting interview. I am super excited, and I am not holding on to that. But yes, I'm so happy, and I'm here to answer all your questions and share a little bit about what I've been through and hopefully inspire some young Latina entrepreneurs out there, and Latino entrepreneurs too, the men too, but the women.
Mostly women.
Mostly women, porque sí se puede.
Eso sí. Well, Pam, I don't know if you've seen our YouTube channel. I don't know if you've seen our videos.
I love them.
Thank you very much. And as always, I already talked a little bit about who you are, but let's get into detail on tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and let's start sharing a little bit about you.
All right, so my name is Pamela Juarez. I am the founder, owner of Rapid Income Tax and Insurance Solutions. We have several locations here in Southern California. Multi-service office. I started in the tax business, and little by little we've been adding services. I've been getting trained in different areas. I'm very hands-on, so I like to go to work. I like to learn. I didn't plan to be in this industry. It just happened.
Like most of us.
Yeah, because when you talk about taxes, como que it's not a very,
appetizing.
It's like, okay, but actually, I love my industry. It's so fun. And, if you follow my Instagram at TaxGirl626, you kind of see how I balance my life out, business, personal. I offer I started offering my tax courses, and it goes down once a year, and it's an opportunity for other, people to learn a little bit more about the tax industry and maybe explore the possibilities of being, self-employed, entrepreneurship. So yeah, it's exciting. I love what I do.
Nice. And so talk to us a little bit about your background. Where were you born?
Okay, I was born in Tijuana, Baja California.
Nice.
What's up?
DJ.
I told you what happened to me in TJ. So I was raised here, but my parents, they married young. They divorced when I was about 5 years old. I was still only child on my father's side. My mom remarried, and now we're 5. I'm the oldest of 5, so I've always been like a motherly. I've always had the motherly instinct with my siblings. So, after high school, I wanted to go to school for radio broadcasting. So I went. I got my degree.
So that explains it.
Yeah, I went to school for radio broadcasting, and I got my certificate and everything. But it's funny because after that summer of completing my course, I was in an accident, and in that accident I broke my arm in 3 pieces.
Ouch.
So I was very depressed because my plan was to go to college or community college and start doing something. I didn't know what, but my mom always, she asked me, "Mija, ¿qué quieres hacer?" My mom always been very supportive of all my locuras. Like, that's one thing that my mom's never, although she's been scared for me, she's never showed, she's always been very supportive of my locuras, like I said. So, she told me, "Mija, that's great. Si quieres, you want to be on the radio, that's amazing, but you want to also do something that makes you money." And I said, "Yeah, that's true." So, entrepreneurship, looking back now, I've been doing it since I was little. I was flipping chocolates from Costco. I was flipping things here and there. I always knew how to make a little bit of money. So my mom, long story short, my mom She was looking to do something herself too, and she enrolled in some tax classes in H&R Block. This was back in like '05. And, my mom, she was very intimidated because, she's a Spanish speaker, the classes are in English, and I went, more of a support for her, and so anyway, I ended up getting licensed. She ended up getting her job at H&R Block, and I ended up getting a job as a receptionist position in East LA. And little did I know that job that I landed in East LA was one of the, we had a large volume of tax clients, and I was hired as a receptionist assistant. Then I was made a tax preparer. I was there for a few years. I loved my job. And owner retired and sold the business. And so we, I was like, wow, what am I going to do? So I ended up figuring it out. I researched the licensing, what it took to have a tax office. It's funny because I was terminated from my position a week before Thanksgiving. And I'm never going to forget because I had the rent due. I had just gotten my first apartment and I had just bought a BMW. And so I had no money available. I had given all my money to the down payment of my car and my down payment to my apartment. And so, I was living paycheck to paycheck. My savings had just been distributed to these things. And so I was like, man, I got to fucking figure it out. So I had just paid off my little Honda and I got a title loan, a super expensive title loan. I got $2,500, and with $2,500, I was able to buy a freaking expensive computer at Fry's because I had no idea how to shop for a computer. And my mom, she works, she's a cashier at a car wash. So the owner had a little space there. So a lot of you guys that know my beginnings know I started inside of a car wash with a desk. And I just had a computer, a desk. The desk, I found it somewhere in Diamond Bar on the street. I was like, oh my God, God was just putting things in front of me. I found a desk on the side of a curb. I got a chair on the side of another curb, and I just put an office together. And the first year was amazing. I was like, oh my God, I was terrified, but you know what? All the little hurdles, I got through them. And, that's how the tax business grew. And referrals are amazing. Referrals, if people are happy with what you do, they're going to tell their neighbors, they're going to tell everybody about you. And me, I like to be approachable. I listen to people. I speak Spanish. There's a lot of young adults out there that don't like to speak Spanish. And I always tell people that is a big mistake because most of my clients are Spanish speakers, and they're the ones that keep our overhead paid, our payroll met. And, I had broken Spanish. Even though I was born in Tijuana, but over time you forget that, me.
Yeah, you don't practice it.
I learned English watching Sesame Street. I used to watch Reading Rainbow and Sesame Street. I didn't know anything. I remember going to kindergarten and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to learn English. My mom used to have me watching novelas all the time. So I was like, I didn't know English. Yes, I used to watch, Rosa Salvaje, all the Thalia novelas, Marimar, all those, but I didn't know English. So whatever. So anyway, yeah, for any young adult out there, Latinos, and even other nationalities, Spanish is so important. It's so important. And I don't know, we have trouble sometimes getting new talent, Spanish speakers, because I don't know why they don't want to speak Spanish.
Me cayó la piedra.
No, you speak Spanish.
I do, but sometimes I feel more comfortable speaking English than I do Spanish. Well, there's some words that I can't.
Yeah, no, I love to speak Spanish. And the thing is that I did my first return on my own. I had been doing taxes since 2005, but I did my first tax under my own license in 2012. Okay, so at that point, I knew, what, all the Latinos are coming in. I better touch up my skills. And to learn Spanish, to speak Spanish in financial terminology, it's like, you gotta earn the trust of the client that already looks at you funny because you're young, and then communicate to them and make them feel like, oh man, she does know what she's talking about. So we have to work twice as hard because we're women. So a lot of people think, women in this industry, they don't know much. And then second, her Spanish, she está bien joven, ¿qué sabe? But my tax mentor was my boss, and he really paved the way. He had been in business for 30 years, so I learned so much from him, and I practice a lot of what I learned in my business now. And I really, I'm so appreciative of that. And right now I feel like, we're just getting the engine going. So right now our offices, we do pretty well with our clients. We're open year round, consistently 6 days a week off tax season, 7 days a week during the tax season. We never close. We're like 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. It's always open.
Because you need consistency.
Yeah.
How many times do you look for something on Google because you need something quick? You call and no one answers. Or it goes into a voicemail. Or it goes to this. No, if you call, guess who's going to answer? Machine. Maybe me or Jessica. Jessica is my customer service rep that is amazing. And it's all about teamwork. Yeah. So I've created an amazing team, and I'm still learning. Every day I learn.
Was it rough in the beginning?
It was rough because...
How was your first year in business?
My first year in business I was like, wow, I used to make this in a year. I made more than what I made in a year. So I was like, wow. So the thing about me is I knew that if I wanted to continue to generate, I needed to put money back into the business. Correct. So I started scouting for locations. I didn't know how to fill out a commercial lease application. I didn't know nothing. I just knew how to work. And so learning all these things, financial literacy, like it's just every day is still a learning thing. I got so many doors slammed in my face, and I just kept going.
How was your mentality there? I mean, and I don't want to sound racist, but as a woman getting shut down, how did you say, you know what, I'm gonna keep going? How was that drive?
Well, because el coraje of being said, if someone tells me no, I'm gonna figure it out. Okay, so I'm gonna figure it out. So that's the thing, is like when people tell me no, I could share with you. You know how it is to deal with the OL department. So now one of my locations, we offer auto registration at all the locations. Those who are familiar with the licensing knows it's freaking crazy. I filled out 11 applications that were rejected. And I would go to the Covina OL department. Okay? The last time, I cried. I was there and I said, you guys can't do this to me anymore. Like, I tell you, I've done everything you've told me. So one of the things that is very important is, your name, and we'll talk about business credit. Everything has to be consistent. So with applications, if you're going to be doing a DBA, all your names need to match. And since I became a citizen a little later in, I think like when I was 20, I became a citizen. So my name said one thing on my ID, my social said another name, and my green card. Yeah, so that's why I kept getting rejected, because I would abbreviate my middle name, and they're like, no, it needs to be like how it is, everything. So we had to just do all kinds of hurdles. And the last time I was like, you know what? I even leased a new location because they didn't even approve the other location. My first little office, because you can't sublease. You need to have your own. Yeah. But I know how that feels. Yeah. So I was like, what the heck?
11 applications must have been very tiring. I did it twice and I was like...
Yeah. So, but now I'm a pro. Now I help people. Like now people, if you want to get into that area, I am a pro of filling out the applications.
So back to that first year and starting business, went through all those hassles. You got shut down. Give me a little bit of that nitty gritty of your mentality and how did you move forward and how did you scale?
Okay. So I forgot to mention, I also married very young. And so he and I would work together. And we, with the freedom of time, having cash flow and stuff, it just creates hurdles sometimes in marriages. So I was more of the disciplined one. He was more of like, let's go pop bottles and do this and that. We didn't have any kids at the time. So I was like, you know what? So we had a rough patch. We ended up getting divorced. We're divorced now, but it was just challenging because when I was having a hard time in my personal life, all that energy, I would just focus. Oh, it's okay. I would just focus on, you know what? I don't want to deal with this drama at home. I'm just going to go to work. And I would be up at night Googling what I could add to the business. So the first year in business, taxes, license, boom. Okay. Next year, immigration consultant license, boom. The next year, notary public license. There we go. DMV, all that. So every year I'm consistently growing. I'm getting educated. And that's how we're able to scale.
So you basically started not only investing in your business, but you also said, you know what, I'm gonna have to have other lines of business or be more valuable for my customers so that you can obtain more business and retain more customers.
Because the thing is that, so when I scout a new location, I'm very strategic. I look at the cost of overhead. I look at the area. I look at the competition, what's around, their hours, and stuff like that. So all my locations are very strategically located in areas that do very well. So now we just actually a year ago yesterday, it's our anniversary for our Monrovia location, which is Yes, so it's a year anniversary and we're doing amazing in that office. It's a different type of clientele, but it's important. If you're a business owner, no matter where you're at, it's no excuse to have a ghetto-looking office. Invest in your equipment. Have a clean office. Just because the outside looks a little sketch doesn't mean the inside needs to look, you know? How many times have you been in an office, you're like, what? They have a foreign in the driveway, but they got old-ass desks, you know? So me, if you do business with me, you know that all my offices always are getting, you know, new equipment, new settings, new, fresh paint, stuff like that. So I love to invest in my offices. And, as long as the overhead is met, that I don't care putting money back into the business because it provides.
I always say that your office is a character of who you are or represents who you are. Mm-hmm. And I always say that. I sound like a broken record every time I say that, but it's true. I mean, with my company, Century, I visit business owners all the time. Mm-hmm. And I always think it's important that it doesn't matter how the outside looks like, the inside's what's going to say who you are. And it just brings out like the type of owner you are. And I always say that, right? So, and your offices are always up to par, well maintained.
They smell good.
They smell good.
I think
that's important because the customers kind of, you make them feel like that professional environment, if you will. And I always say that helps with business because if they walk somewhere where they don't feel comfortable, just being there, if they don't feel comfortable, they're not going to want to do business regardless. Yeah. I always say that. That's just my point of view.
It's important. It's important. And, a lot of the things that I learned working for my first boss in the tax business, he had been in business for 30 years. And he also was a developer in the tax software. So I didn't know all these things about him until a little after. So he's very well known in the industry. So, we used to have to answer the phones in Spanish. Because he said, I don't care if it's un morenito, un chinito, oficina, it was Mr. Gonzalez. So we would have to answer, Oficina Gonzalez, buenos días, ¿cómo le puedo, And
always had that identification with your customers.
Spanish is important. So I've always liked Spanish. So you go to our office, once in a while I'll be playing R&B, but we normally have, recuerdos, we have K-Love on, just to make it feel a little, and our clients love it, clients love it. They feel, a lot of clients right now with the pandemic, that everything that we just went through, I think the reason why we do very well is because we're still a storefront and we're consistent with our hours. And there's a lot of people that are going virtual, and which is great, but I'm serving the community that still wants to talk to a human and go to a place. So, we have a lot of older clients that are not up to date with the technology. They still have the old school flip phones.
With that being said, how do you see the industry or the market changing? Do you really think it's gonna go remotely?
Well,
how do you see that market? What's your point of view?
I think that you, as an owner, you gotta stay up to date with technology. This pandemic really was a wake-up call for me because I had been doing things so old school, but you got to get with the times. We're going completely digital. So we're still going to cater to the in-person clients, but we're also ready to cater to the virtual client.
So you updated yourself.
We did. So this was a wake-up call. And this is, if you're hungry, this pandemic, our numbers, our quarter reports, we did better than any other year. Every year we're growing and we're surpassing our numbers. So I was a little like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Had to get out of my comfort zone. And for those that...
How was that? How was getting out of your comfort?
It was a little uncomfortable, but you know what? I said, you know what? I'm all in, because this is my business. That's all I know how to do. And you know what? I have one of my mentors, and I have frequent conversations with him. And I said one time, I said, you know what? I know what it is to have nothing. And if I end up with nothing, I know how to get it back. So that's the thing. It's like, you know, and if anything, this is going to take out people that are just in my way. So, you know, in the area that I'm at, a couple of insurance offices closed. We're getting ready to take over that area, that industry. Thanks to you, Alex. We're gonna, we just sold some policies this week. I got licensed PNC a couple years back, but we had some hurdles. And, but that's a challenging test, and I did it. Being a single parent, 2 kids, there's no excuse. So when these jóvenes, you know, when I see them doing nothing, I'm like, there's no excuse. Yeah. I make shit happen.
You have to, right?
I have 4 locations. I have 2 kids. I got to be at school with them at a certain time, you know, and you know, I always tell people it's just how bad you want it.
No, that's true. Yeah. Now, that was going to take me to my next question. When you became an entrepreneur, you started this, you know, obviously you were married and no kids, no nothing. But what was your why? What gave you that why to now have 4 offices? And give me a little bit in regards to that. Earlier we were talking on our way over here, and you were about to mention something. You know, what keeps you going? What motivates you? What drives you? What makes you say, I am Pam? La chingona.
In the beginning, my why was to pay my bills, because I had just gotten a BMW. I had a rent.
Gotta pay this.
And then I had I had to pay that car note, that title loan. So I was like, you know what? I gotta figure this shit out. In 2014, my son Sebastian was born. He was born in the middle of tax season. He was born February 18th. Imagine that, okay? Imagine that. Right in the middle. But you know what? My clients were so loyal that they knew I was gonna pop any minute. So I did all my numbers in the first month of January, in the first half of February. People were just dropping things off, and they would leave me gifts to kind of make their file go up, you know?
Here's something for the baby. Yeah. Do my next.
So I remember that year, my team, I had just kind of started. I had a couple of my really good friends helping me out, thank God. And it was like, you know, data entry, getting the files and stuff. So anyway, when I had my son Sebastian, I said, wow, now I got a child. And those who remember me in the beginning knew I don't like to leave my children behind. They're always with me. I had a little bassinet in the side of the little car wash office I had. I would have my son there with me. And it was a little challenging, but you know what? Thanks to the help of my mom, some close friends, family members, you know, I made it work. But that was my why. I said, you know what? Growing up, my mom, the oldest of 5, eventually the second marriage didn't work out, but single parent, I didn't see my mom at the school things as much as I would like to. I had all my other friends, you know, when you're at school and you're getting the award, the mom is in the back. Yeah. Or how about when you know, when you're let out of school and
you're just sitting there waiting.
I would always go to the after school program. You know, I wasn't like my friends that their parents would be the first ones in line. Yeah. So I said, you know what? I got 5 years before my son goes to school, and I need to make sure that I'm that parent. And sure enough, when Sebastian started first grade, this was a couple of, so the pandemic started when? In March 2020? Yeah. So I had just enrolled him in kindergarten in 2019. So, you know, the end of 19, the beginning of 20. So I was ready to be that PTA parent. I was so ready. And then they said, oh, everything's shut down. You guys have to keep your kids at home. I'm like, God damn it.
5 years, then I couldn't make it.
I was like ready to be part of the PTA. I was ready to. So, being able to be there for my children, that's my why. And, growing a team, we're our kid-friendly office. All of my team, we have kids, and my offices, if you want to bring your child to work, and you have to bring your child to work, as long as we could, we could
Make
be
it
good.
around.
Bring your kids to work. I don't care, because I understand the struggles of being a parent sometimes,
Yeah.
and I feel like that creates a better connection with the team,
You're making them feel
Yeah, that's
comfortable
my
that you
team.
have
And
your
every
back.
year my goal is, every year my goal is to make sure that the team is winning, and, I'm changing lives. Everybody that started working with me had zero experience. I hired no experience, and I trained them from A to Z.
Okay. So you train your staff yourself. You delegate all your knowledge to them, and
Hands-on.
you pretty much make them your double mini me.
Yes. That's how I'm
Nice.
able to invest in a little bit more, and that's how I'm able to be out of the office to find new opportunities to bring them in so that we could generate more money and they could make more money and they could be happy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Pam, we're about to get to our second part of our interview.
All right.
With all your knowledge and knowing how to, do corporate taxes, open businesses, you've gone through all that. So let's jump into the next part of the interview and share some knowledge.
That works.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, Pam. So we are in our second part of our interview with Offer with Alex Perez, and I have a question for you. What's your thought about investing in your team, giving back to your team, not only to your business, because obviously as a business owner you have to put money into your business for it to succeed, for it to grow, for it to expand. But how do you do it personally with your staff? What do you do to keep them going, to be driven as much as you are?
So what's very important to me is personal growth. So I invest in personal development. I take them to different events. They enjoy going to work because we plan, every month we plan something to keep us excited as a team. We're gonna go here, whether it's a new restaurant, where it's just little things that you need to show appreciation to your team. I don't cut corners with them. If they need whatever they need, whether it's new equipment, supplies, whatever, they don't ever feel like they can't come to me. So we have a couple of events that we attend every year. I take my team out, all expenses paid, time paid for being out there too. I understand that we all have families, and at the end of the day, we go to work because we need to have our paycheck to survive. And so I look at my girls every year and they just think like, wow, like every year my girls, something new is happening. One of my girls just closed on her new house. She's under 30. She's, ¿cuántos años tiene? 20 something. She just bought her house, a beautiful house. She has her husband, her beautiful family. One of my other girls, she just bought herself a new truck. She's super happy. So that makes me happy and it keeps me motivated to push. So incentives, the reason why I learn more is so that I could provide more for my team and keep them motivated. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm not a shitty boss, and anybody that works for me, they're happy. And I mean, at least that's what I think. They show up to work every day. No, you know what? I don't micromanage. I always tell them from the beginning, you know what? You know your duties. You know what you have to do. They love going to work. I really don't get any call-offs or anything, so.
Yeah, so that just keeps them motivated.
Yeah, incentives,
for them to do more, right? So
goals.
they don't know. You're not the typical just the bosses living the life, but you also like to share the wealth.
Oh, I do. Whether it's taking them to a restaurant that we've never been to, maybe we've never been exposed to it. So yeah, I share a lot of new things with them.
Has it always been like that? Since day one, or since you started having employees, or this is something that you just
it's over time. It's
testing
because
it out?
No, not testing it out. I've always done what I could. So luckily we've been very blessed. So I'm able to do a little bit more every year. So, every holiday, every little, we go out, we choose a new restaurant. I always tell my girls, choose something new. I don't want to go to Pescador all the time. Don't, let's go somewhere new, a different area, whether it's, a Mastro's, a Javier's, or whatever, let's go and let's go get fancy dinners. Let's go get all dressed up. And, my team loves it.
And I see that, and I really, really see that. And I see that camaraderie with all your staff, and I think that always helps. We had Yadira from Lodell Insurance, which, by the way, hi Yadira, how are you? She's the same way. I see that with her girls, and you walk in and you feel it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But anywho, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about business.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, when you start a business, most of us, including myself, when I started my first business, I didn't really know where to go, or what type of corporation. Should I do a DBA? Should I do an LLC, S Corp, C Corp? There's so many things, right? Yeah. Walk us through the process. Maybe share a little bit of what you went through, and with that being said, or that happening to you, how can you help other people not make the same mistake? So
what happens is we get tons of people that approach us that they want to start a business because maybe, especially now with TikTok, everybody wants to do something because TikTok said. And so it's very important. I share my personal experience. Again, long story short, I started a business. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew how to make money. I just knew how to do my job, and that's it. So what happened is when I started my business, I was a DBA, filed my fictitious name, got my tax ID number, went to the bank, opened a bank account, started getting tons of deposits, which was very important. The bank extended a credit line, and I used it up to buy new equipment, things like that. So, I was in a position where I was like, okay, I was divorced. I want to buy a house. I ran my credit, but I never had the credit because all my business credit cards were linked to my social under a DBA. So I had debt. And so I had to get educated. I met some amazing people. I pray a lot. My faith is very, very on point. And I just knew that God always puts the right people in my path. So I came across somebody, they helped me they educated me on business credit. They said, Pam, this is what you got to do. You got to get away from the DBA. You got to open up your LLC. I didn't think it was important. I'm like, well, I don't, whatever. So I ended up opening up the LLC. They provided a blueprint for me. I did a S Corp election. I'm running payroll, everything now under my business. I took a couple of strategies that they recommended. So I built a business credit. So I was able to transfer all the debt under the business. So gracias a Dios, now I will be closing on my 4th property. So now I've been buying investment properties. And that's because I just needed someone to tell me how to do it. So my goal is when someone approaches me, I always set up a phone consultation because I want to make sure that they're getting into the right thing. There's a lot of online platforms that provide assistance, but if you don't do things the right way, it just gets so expensive. So I always have a conversation with my clients and I ask them, okay, in reality, what type of entity you want to be all depends on how much you're going to be generating. Because if we want to save money on taxes, we need to know how your bookkeeping is going. So if you're testing the waters and you don't know if the business is going to work or what, I always recommend DBA. If it's something that's just going to be a little part-time thing, DBA is important. You get a fictitious name, tax ID number, open up your business bank account, and you start spending from your business bank account so that you have the proper bookkeeping in place. Okay. Now, someone comes in with a DBA and I see, wow, you're really generating, you're paying, a lot of taxes. You might want to consider LLC, with an S Corp election. It all depends on how much you're making. So I always tell clients, okay, how much are you willing to invest to start this up? Are you really serious about it? So a lot of times the most common is an LLC. I break down all the fees involved. They need to know, that the government wants some money. It's not just, let me open up your LLC. And they want $800 every year, whether you generate or not. And if you don't file taxes, you're in trouble because now you owe penalties. So, and so it's very important I educate them. Once we set up their LLC, S Corp, C Corp, whatever it is, we give them some training on bookkeeping. I always tell entrepreneurs, do not cut corners on bookkeeping. Hire a freelance bookkeeper to audit your spending.
They're your backbone, no?
Yeah, I have a bookkeeper. I do this and I don't do my stuff because my job is to make money, get business through the door, and that's it. Yeah. You got to have different people helping you in different areas, just delegating different things. Otherwise, how am I going to be making, if I got to worry about my bookkeeping? I have somebody.
This question I get asked a lot. Mm-hmm. What is the actual difference between an LLC and an S Corp?
So an LLC in California is something that you can elect to be. An S Corp is something that you add on. So typically the rule is if you are netting, remember the difference between what you gross and net is the expenses, okay? You could gross $1 million, but what you net is what you're gonna pay taxes on. So if you are over $30,000 of net profit, we highly recommend an S Corp. That's a different way to be taxed. You become a shareholder. The thing about an S Corp is that you commit to payroll. Being an officer, you must be on payroll and pay yourself a reasonable compensation. If you don't do that, your S Corp election can be revoked. The IRS eventually gets to people that don't follow the rules. So that's the difference. It's just a way of being taxed. I had a meeting on Sunday with the client and we went over his numbers. And I said, okay, we'll close out LLC this year, but next year you anticipate generating more. We'll make the S Corp election. We'll set you up on a payroll and we're going to start, tackling your numbers that way, So it all depends. It takes a conversation. People think, that's why I always tell people buyer beware of the legal Zoom and all that stuff because you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
You're just clicking on what you think is the right answer.
I have people that hit me up all the time like, oh, I started an LLC. You can't fail to tell your tax preparer that you have something you started because it's a puzzle that needs to go together.
Eventually, something's not going to add up.
If you have an S Corp, you can't do your personal return until you do your S Corp because the S Corp is going to give your personal return a K-1 as a shareholder. So I always tell people, and people kind of get irritated with me because I ask a lot of questions. Because I just want to make sure
the right job.
Yeah, I want to make sure I educate them. In 2015, I opened up my LLC and I never used it. Well, guess what? They know you have an LLC, and in order to dissolve an LLC, you got to get current with all the fees. You got to get current with everything. And it could become a burden. So I tell a lot of people.
You still got to pay, right?
You still got to pay. There's ways that, but at that point, you're going to have to pay somebody to fix it. You're going to have to pay somebody so you're still going to spend money, So one of the things that I highly recommend is don't listen to your neighbor.
He said, she said.
Yeah, I get so many calls. Oiga, mi vecino agarró. Well,
Get old, I swear.
Mi vecino, ¿por qué le dieron tanto dinero a mi vecino? Well, cada caso es distinto. Everybody has a different case. My bottom line is always consult with somebody that's an expert in the industry to get the proper financial advice. I don't know it all, but like I said, God's put some amazing people in my life. That's just, from the loan officer side, how I personally was able to get into different properties. Again, it's just educating myself, knowing what's out there, saving money.
Very important.
Saving money is important, and taking care of your credit.
In business, what has been your biggest disappointment? What has been your biggest failure where you said, okay, I failed?
No failures. Everything's been a learning experience. There's no such thing as a failure to me. It probably the timing.
I got chills.
Maybe the timing.
Awesome.
The timing.
That's a good answer.
The timing.
That's awesome.
I just want to be able to have, memories with my kids and do things that I didn't have a chance to do. Unfortunately, growing up, my mom, she did what she could to provide what she could for us, which was the bare minimum. I knew when we went to the market, I couldn't ask for anything extra than, the store brand cereal. I couldn't ask for the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We had to get the Springfield, do you remember the store brand? So I knew. So that's why I had to, I growing up, unfortunately, sorry, Mom, but I seen things that I didn't want to deal with growing up as an adult. So, maybe that's why I'm divorced now, because I have a zero tolerance for bullshit. So, but again, I pray, I have full custody of the boys. The boys have an amazing life, and my job is just to create the best kids that I just give them, as much knowledge. My 7-year-old talks taxes.
That's awesome.
Every time the 15th comes, he's like, Mom, do we get a stimulus for the child tax credit? I'm like, excuse me?
Getting ready to take over the empire.
My son, so I teach him a little bit about little things and the conversations that he's my little partner, my little partner that he talks taxes.
It's funny, just to close out, how you don't, as a parent, I think where everybody's gonna relate to this that have kids, you might think they don't listen to you, but just yesterday I was having a conversation with my wife, and I'm like, I'm scared of, doing something that I'm gonna start doing soon. And then my son turns around and then he looks at me, he's like, Dad, fear doesn't exist, it's just a thought. And I looked at him, I was like, holy crap. Because I always tell him that, I was like, don't be afraid of trying something. You try it over and over again until you get it right. And I told him, I'm like, fear does not exist. And I was teaching him how to swim, and he just dove into the pool and started swimming.
That's amazing.
And yesterday when he said that, I just looked at him, I'm like, you're right, son. Fear does not exist.
There's no failures.
Yeah, there's no failures. Just lessons.
Just lessons.
Well, mi gente, Mrs. Pam, thank you so much for being here. I enjoyed your time. We might have to do another one. Guys, once again, please, if you like this video, comment on the video. Anything that you learned or you took away from, or you might want to get more information in regards to what we just talked about, drop a comment below. We'll be more than glad to answer your questions. We'll put her descriptions and her information down below, including her Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in into our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this video. And with that being said, mi gente, we'll see you guys into the next one. Thank you very much. Take care.